Okay. Let me share my screen and then we can go. Okay. So just to give the introduction, what exactly is part of this, and then we can probably go through the content of it. So everybody can see my screen, right?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. So this is the first unit in the language part of it. So what it has got what is the structure of the language to start with, language acquisition, basically how exactly somebody is going to learn the language, and what are the various aspects within the language. And we have theories of language acquisition. So the most, the bulk of this particular chapter is in these theories. Okay. So if you see the kind of questions that we got in the examination, behavioristic theory and innateness theory are the most famous, right? I mean, this language acquisition device is uh, related to innateness theory, and there is a behavioristic theory and innateness theory. And there is one more question which is related to stages of language acquisition. So basically, that's how the questions are. So rest of the parts like biological and the linguistics and all those stuff, there were no questions that came in. So the way that we are actually doing this particular session, as we discussed yesterday, right? So we are going to take the most important parts of it and leave out the things which are not really covered. So what we are going to go in detail, we're going to go in detail into the stages of language acquisition, and then we are going to talk about these theories. So we can, so let me just start with the stages here, right? So coming to the stages, right? So there are 5 basic stages as far as the language acquisition is concerned, right? I mean, the stage 1 is cooing. So basically what we are saying here is baby starts with uttering certain sounds like ooh, something weird, right? I mean, so that is exactly what is the cooing stage. So that really happens from 0 to 4 months. So basically what baby is trying to do is baby is trying to actually learn something which as a language, but they are not really speaking any words at this stage. The next stage, which is going to happen post 4 months, that is 6 to 8 months nearly, is babbling. So they are trying to speak. So they would be speaking something which is not really words, but they are trying to imply something, right? So it is like they are just continuously babbling something, and they are not making any proper words there. So right from ninth month, they are actually going to start with one word utterances. So they would be calling mama, atta, tata, whatever, right? Depending upon whatever the language that you are in, those words would actually come. And here they would be making one word and they are trying to actually make sense out of those particular one words itself, right? If suppose let's they call like something like mum mum or or whatever, right? So basically what they imply is they want food. So they would be making, they are not making sentences, they would be calling only one word, and from that mothers or parents would actually imply what to be done. So that is one word utterances. The next stage is two word utterances. So now this is the starting form of making the sentences. So these two word utterances, it would be made from 18 months to 30 months. So there is another word for this particular kind of stage is telegraphic speech. So basically it's like a telegraph message, right? I mean, they are using shortcuts. They are still making sentences, but not a complete sentence. So they are using shortcuts, right? So that's what this stage is also called as. It can be called as two word stage, or it can be called as telegraphic speech. So this goes till almost 2.5 years of age. So this is where they are actually, telling like something like want juice. So they would not be saying that I want juice, I want so and so juice. So they are just making two words. So certain simple sentences is what they would actually make. After this stage, there is a basic adult stage. So this is where adult speech. So this is where they are actually making complete sentences, and their structure of the sentences is getting formed over here. So this actually goes on. So in this stage, child would be actually learning maximum number of words. So basically, what happens from the word count point of view, words they are starting at this stage, which is one word utterances. So here they would be learning approximately around 100 words. So not more than that. So in two word utterances, they would be increasing their vocabulary to a few hundreds of words, maybe 2,000 kind of words that they can make. And in this stage, this fifth stage, which is going to start after 2.5 years, right? So this is the stage where they would be learning maximum. And by the age of 5, they would actually learn almost like 13,000 words. So this is where they actually pick up the language very fast, and they would be going towards adult like sentences. So by 5 years, they can, most of the children would understand, produce even complex sentences for that matter, right? By 10 years of age, they would be almost like an adult as far as the sentence making is concerned. So by 10 years, most of the children would mature in their particular entire language ability. So this is the last stage, which is basic adult sentence structure. So this has got right from making basic sentences till the adult like sentences. So it goes on from 2.5 years to 5 years age. Most of the words are gathered, like almost 13,000 words they will learn. By 5 years, their sentences are quite complex. I mean, they can make even complex sentences. By 10 years, they almost reach to a stage of adult like sentences. Okay. So these are the stages of language acquisition. So any questions at this stage on this? It is quite straightforward according to me. And this is one of the questions that could probably make it into the exam.
We got it. Thank you.
Okay, so now what we are actually going towards, we are going towards the theories. So in between there is certain discussion which is not really something as an important topic, but I would actually rather say that the short paragraphs which talks about is whether there is any link between language and thought, right? So whether whether so there are certain scientists and certain philosophers which says yes, there are certain scientists and philosophers which says no, but this is not a very important thing nor elaborated in a very detailed way. But any interested people can go through those particular things anyway. So the next important stuff is on theories of language acquisition. So there are multiple theories. So let me give a very short synopsis of what exactly these theories are, and then we can go into the details. Okay, so if we take, so there are four theories, right? One is behavior theory. Okay, so now as name suggests, so anyway, Praharsh is going to explain this in detail. I'm just giving a short introduction so that you really understand and overall what these particular theories are all about, right? One is so all these theories are around how exactly somebody is learning learning language, right? And remember, these are all talking about the first language learning, that is at this child stage. Okay, so we are talking about child learning the languages, not really learning second language or third language or whatever it is after you grow as an adult. So these theories are around the basic language learning ability. So first theory's name is behavior theory, right? So now as the name suggests, so the entire theory is based on the behavior. So what this is all talking about, so kid is going to actually learn based on whatever that they are actually observing from their whatever the parents or whoever is behaving in front of them. So they are actually rewarding them with the right feedback whenever they actually utter words properly. And so that's how the language keeps on improving. So they are seeing people and they are trying to imitate them. So here the key word here is imitate, practice, and reward. So basically what they are saying, so this is language is acquired based on practice, and it is based on the imitation done. And the entire practice cycle goes like, okay, yeah, they utter the right word, somebody is going to reward it. If they are utter the wrong word, somebody is going to actually correct it. So it goes on. That is behavior theory. So it is all based on behavior imitation. So the anyway, details would be given by Praharsh at later point of time. So the second theory is on cognitive. So what cognitive is saying? So as word again suggests, cognitive is all about brain and how the intelligence, creativity, and all these things really work, right? I mean, our entire subject is around that. So what this series says is language, the way that you learn language is nothing different from the other intellectual capabilities. The way that you learn intelligence, the way that you learn various other things, it goes into the same cycle. So there are various blocks in the mind, there are various process elements. So it goes through the process of, okay, you get the stimulus and then that would be processed and brain would actually, make nerve connections and all those stuff. So it talks about the way that brain really works. So what this says, this is language is nothing different. So it is just like learning anything else. That's exactly what this particular theory is all telling about. So now who is the proponent? So you might actually remember the name Piaget. So there is actually stages of Piaget as well. If you remember, there is a sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, formal operation stage, depending upon the age of the child as he grows, the way that it is acquired. So this entire theory maps language acquisition to these stages itself. So how exactly, what exactly child would actually learn during 0 to 2, and how it is connected with sensory motor related things, how pre-operational stage is going to work from 2 to 7 years, and what they are going to learn during that time. So it is all related to the cognitive thing, the way the brain processes. And what it says is language is no different. It is just like any other learning that child is going to do. Don't treat language separately. Treat like any other thing that the child is going to learn. He is learning how to how to pick things or do things or whatever it is, right? I mean, he is developing logical capability and all those stuff. Along with logical capability, he is also developing language. Why language is different? That's exactly what this theory says. The third theory is innateness theory. Okay. So what innateness is, right? Innateness, innate as a word, what it really is signifying here is it is inbuilt. So this is actually developed by Chomsky. So this Chomsky also came into, I think, discussion earlier, where he is proponent of some of the computer language related constructs as well, right? So he's pretty famous, and he proposed this particular theory, innateness theory. So as name suggests, again, so all the key things around these theories are in the name of it itself. Innateness, inbuilt. What he is just saying is there is something which is already fixed in brains of human, and this is the one which is actually driving the things. So this inbuilt capability is something that so it is allowing a child to actually learn very quickly. So it's a special device specially built for language, and it is there inbuilt into every human for that matter. And basic language constructs, whatever the according to him, what he says is nobody really have to teach grammar to anybody in a formal way. Automatically things are picked up. Why it is being picked up? Because there is a special device which is capable of understanding all these basic language constructs. And what he says is every language has got a similar constructs. Every language has got a grammar, which is very similar in nature. So this device is capable of dealing with it. So that's exactly what he's saying. And it is inbuilt. And what he says is it is very special to humans, and it is inbuilt, which he is calling as LAD, which is language acquisition device. Okay. So this is innateness theory. The third is interaction. So now, what is this interaction? Interaction between kid and the caretaker. So what he says is, now language, the way the language is learned, it depends on kid's ability. So there is something which is coming from the kid, and there is also something which is dependent on the caretaker, whoever is teaching it. So teaching person is actually giving some knowledge, and kids' ability is also aiding to it. Both are actually aiding to to develop the language. So it is like there is a innateness. So basically, it is a combination of this and also this. So you can say that it is combination of all the three theories above. What it is saying is it is not just one element, it is innate capability of the kid which is somewhere built into it. So he is not, I mean, interaction theory is not really labeling it as lad or whatever it is, but it is saying there is some capability, and it varies from kid to kid, and also the environment which actually is there, even that is aiding to the language development. So these are the four theories in short. Okay, any doubts in this?
Very well explained, Praveen. Very nice.
Okay, so what I would do, I would actually go into these innateness. See, in these four, right? So the questions that came is mainly behavior theory and innateness theory. These two are the ones which are most important out of these four. Okay, so it doesn't mean that in our case the other theories cannot come. So you could probably want to learn that as well. But based on previous papers, it is behavior theory and innateness theory are the ones which came. Okay, and so going into the innateness theory. So behavioristic theory anyway, Praharsh is going to explain. So what is this innateness theory? Okay, so as I explained, right, what Chomsky is saying is this innateness is all about something which is inbuilt into the uh, uh, to the child's brain, right? I mean, there is a special device which he is calling it as LAD, language acquisition device.
We can't hear you, Praveen.
Just a moment, I'm getting one call. Got okay, so it got disconnected. Not a problem. So can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so what this LAD is doing, so somebody is giving an input to this LAD. So LAD is inbuilt. There is nothing to be done. So it's just that primary, some basic speech, like from the adults, is going as an input to it. Automatically, LAD is discovering what are the language principles, grammatical knowledge. Nobody has to teach it in a formal way. There is an input that is coming in the common environment, and LAD is able to pick it up. So it's mainly the LAD which is actually doing the work. And in the end, it produces whatever the language capability that it is. That's exactly what he's saying. So most important thing when you are actually writing in exam in these particular theories are what are the evidences, why he is saying, what is the thing that it is supporting his argument, and what are the things which are against his argument, right? So I kind of try to actually make it simple in these particular sentences, but you would want to actually polish these into relevant sentences while you write in the exam. So here, what are the points? First, his main point is why only human kids, right? I mean, there are a lot of animals, lot of creatures on the planet. Why only humans do it so fast? What is there in humans kid which they can actually learn it so fast? That means there is some ability, something which is inbuilt in the brain. So that is what he is calling it as LAD, saying that okay, there is some special device which is there only in humans, right? So first point is, why only humans? Why they do it so fast? Even if some other animal is learning, it requires so much of effort, but humans actually learn it effortlessly, right? So the second point that he's saying is, there is a pattern, irrespective of culture, creed, country, etc., etc. There is a pattern. It happens into the same age period, okay, and it also happens as same stages. So everybody is going through that cooing, babbling, one word, two word, etc., right? 5 stages that we learned earlier. So there is a pattern and there is same stages. So that means there is same thing. So what this implies, that every human has got something very similar into their brain. So there is something which is very similar, which is built in all humans. And there is not, this is nothing about somebody is gifted, right? It is about every human has got this particular gift, and that is why it is acting in the same pattern. Fourth point that it is saying is, this has nothing to do with the creativity, intelligence. Even a dumb person is able to learn language pretty easily. So that means the intelligence and other brain related parts that we are talking about are separate, and this device is separate. This is actually a language particular device which is very built in every human, and it is there as a common thing. And the fifth point that he's saying is, see, not only people who are listening, even deaf, when they actually learn language just by signs or whatever it is, they form their own language, their own constructs as their own language, right? I mean, sign language or whatever that you would want to call. And even that language they actually learn, even the deaf, that language is pretty much similar to whatever the utterances that a non-deaf person could actually do. So a deaf who is not able to hear anybody, just by looking at various things, he is able to pick up the constructs in a very similar way as any other adult. So that's where he is saying that is, it is not that somebody is teaching, that is why it is coming. Yes, teaching is happening or somebody is uttering the words, it is going as an input, but it is just a similar to whatever the lad that is there inside. So lad is able to construct things very easily. Okay, and the sixth point that he is saying is, why animals can't do the same, right? I mean, that is exactly what is the earlier point as well, that why only humans, why can't animals or whatever it is, right? I mean, so there is, that means there is something special about the humans. And the seventh point that he's saying is, for a kid, nobody is teaching grammar. How kid is picking up the grammar? Because he has got the ability to do that. So that is why he is able to pick it up automatically by himself. It is not that everybody is being taught that, okay, subject should be there, past tense, present tense, or whatnot, whatever that we learn. Right? Even before learning all those things, somebody, I mean, everybody is able to pick up whatever the sentence formation is. So this is happening because of the lad. So these are the supporting statements that he has got. The what are the limitations, right? I mean, why people are, what people are complaining about this particular theory. Um, he talked about lad. Fine. What is this lad? Can you actually show me in the brain that this is the part? So you have like various things, the whatever that we have, temporal lobe or frontal lobe or whatever it is, various things, right? Where is this lad in the brain? I mean, how exactly it really works, right? I mean, uh, see, he talks about lad, but he doesn't talk about where this lad is. So he's saying there is something in the brain, so it is abstract. He is just speaking about something which nobody knows where it is. So it might be there, it might not be there, but nobody is able to articulate where it is. So that is one of the big negatives about it. The second one is, this doesn't explain how various people has got different level of proficiencies in the language. Language is picked, basic constructs are picked. So fine, let's go with the theory that, okay, everybody has got a capability to pick the basic construct. But how proficiency in the language is developed? Is proficiency outside lad? Then why it is outside lad, right? I mean, if lad is the one which is dealing with the language, then what is this outside thing which is aiding the lad? So I mean, there is no explanation about this proficiency thing, how exactly this proficiency can be mixed with this concept. The third one is, so that's fine, lad is there, you provide the input and it learns, but what is the process inside it, right? I mean, what is the stages? Does it actually get a sensory input which is as an input, or whether there is some neurons which are giving electrical signals, or what is the process, and are there any stages? In the first stage, cooing happens. What happens in the lad from the cooing point of view? What happens in the one word utterances? So how lad is different in one word utterances? Why lad is going through these stages? He doesn't explain all these stages. He just says that lad is there and it automatically picks up the language, and dhadak, you got the language ability. That's it, right? So he doesn't explain the stages. He doesn't explain the process. So that is the third problem. And the fourth problem is, so it lad doesn't talk about anything which is about teachers, parents, etc., who are around you. What is the environment really aiding it, right? Does it mean, does Chomsky mean that teachers doesn't matter? So it doesn't matter that parents teach the language, right? I mean, how exactly these people are influencing this lad? Is there any relationship or any particular parameter which is also aiding this particular lad? And if yes, how exactly that is working? So this is also something that is unexplained. So this is about innateness theory. Any questions here?
No, Praveen. That's all good.
Understood.
Okay. So quickly going into the cognitive theory, right? So as I said, cognitive theory is all about cognition, and I will keep cognitive theory short because it's not very important. But anyway, I'll just go through all the important elements in it. So as I said, right, cognitive theory is done by Jean Piaget, and he's the one who is who proposed that sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, formal operation stage, right? So I would not explain Piaget's theory. So basically, how he does this thing is, what he says is language is no different. It also goes through these stages like any other intellectual ability. Anything which is related to brain, it all goes through these stages, and language also follows these particular norms. So the language is no different from anything. So that is the main basic thing about this particular theory, right? So what he says, right? So in the sensory motor stage, so as um, um, in fact infant mainly acquires the senses and he does the actions, right? So this is the stage where concept formation is triggered. So that is where the cooing and all other things slowly manifest into those one word, and slowly he would be entering into the two words. So basically he just formed the concepts in this particular stage. So this stage is marked as concept formation stage, where the sensory motor actions are the predominant things. So he gets all these particular inputs as well to form these concepts using senses, whether listening sense or seeing sense or whatever that you would want to actually call. And the second stage is pre-operational stage, which is going to be from 2 to 7. So this is where he says that most of the language acquisition happens, and this is where all mental images are formed. So he actually understands the symbols, focus on the concrete physical situations, right? I mean, so but at this stage they are still not matured enough to understand the abstract concepts. So they can't really understand somebody is talking about lad, which is abstract, right? So they would only be connected with real world scenarios. They are very well connected with the real world scenarios. They can imagine things. They would actually use as, they can see the symbol, they can see the apple symbol and say A for apple, B for bat, etc., right? I mean, so this is where they actually develop the most of the language and mental images. Okay, so the next stage is all about the concrete operational stage, where they are maturing in logically ordering things. So this is where, right, I mean, they are going towards adult as far as the language formation is concerned. So they can be logical, reasonable, and that is where most of the complex sentence making is also coming into picture. And by the time they reach to the last stage, which is formal operational stage, which is 12 years and above, they are quite matured, right? And they have all the new capabilities well developed. Language development is almost complete, so they are like adults only. They can even talk abstract. So if he explain this lad concept to this children who are above 11 years or 12 years, they would be able to understand as well. So they would be capable of doing with all these things, right? So here the thing that you would have to probably remember is it is being mapped with Piaget's theory. So if you know Piaget's stages, anyway, Piaget's stages are like very important as far as our syllabus is concerned. If you know that, it is just about mapping language ability to those stages. That's all. So thing is, language is no different from any other capability of it. Okay. So that's about cognitive theory. So any doubts in it?
No, Praveen. It's very easily understandable.
So over to Praharsh on behavioristic theory. So that's all from my side. So the I mean, just to conclude it, right? I mean, behavioristic and innateness are the most important ones. So I think the second important, I mean, the behavioristic theory is anyway Praharsh should cover it.
Thank you, Praveen.
Very nice, Praveen. It was a refreshing change from your stats class. So I really enjoyed it. And anyway, these
Thank
are
you.
favorite theories. Very well explained. Very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you might not have realized in the first 2-3 minutes itself, he has actually covered the entire portion.
Yeah, we did realize. Yes.
Yes, so
Very
my
well structured. Yeah.
now, so it's almost like it's already explained, but I will add some little more details about the behaviorist theory. So all these people were very interested in how learning, how does a human child learn language, and people as usual makes their own theories and etc etc. So this guy is called Skinner, B.F. Skinner. So he is very famous for running a lot of experiments in animals. So behaviors people, they try to figure out the functioning of brain using observing behavior of people, and experimenting in human are probably not a good idea because they cannot be cruel to human. They cannot starve them. They cannot show food at them, and probably when they are coming towards food they cannot take it away, things like that. So they usually run these experiments in poor animals, and this is very probably easy to correlate. If you get a parrot, you can easily observe that and you can figure out how it learns a language, for example, things like that. So behaviorist people, including this wonderful guy called B.F. Skinner, they did many experiments, and as a part of that, Skinner proposed this theory called behaviorist theory, where he says, um, just like an animal gets trained by, reward punishment system. So someone does something good, a dog jumps as you want it to jump, you give it a bone, it you ask it to jump and it just lies down on the floor, you give it a couple of kicks on the butt or something. So and that's how you train a dog. So similar to that, human children also picks up language just by imitating. That was the keyword, the first keyword that Praveen brought again already. First keyword is imitating. So there is a imitation tendency in kids, and as and when they start imitating, what do adults do or people around them do? They smile, they pat, or something of that sort, and that works as a reinforcement for that particular behavior, and that behavior could be cooing or babbling or whatever. So they do that over and over, and they at the end of it, end up learning the language. That's the crux of behaviorist theory is. So um, the parents and caretakers have a very heavy role in this process, because that is where all this input comes from for the kid. So habit forming, uh, then positive and negative rewarding, and that's pretty much the important thing is in this model. So give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Okay. Now the linguistic input itself is the key. So that is being repeated, and kids learn by reinforcement of the same utterances. Now, for each of them, you have to learn what it is as well as the limitations. And this is again, limitations in this is little easy, because there is no supporting factors as such. Just the observation itself was the supporting factor. The limitations are actually very logical. If you look through those, I'll go with them one by one. There are 5 of them. They're all easy and logical. It will come to you naturally as you see hear it. It is very easy to remember also. First one is, language is based on a set of structure or rules. Now, just by looking at parents or caregivers, it's very difficult to perceive that a small child of like 3 few months they'll be able to make these rules. Well, when you say rules, it's a little more elder kids, but even to make those sounds, there are rules involved, or there are other very complexities that cannot be just learned by imitating. So particularly the when you are like 5 to 6 years and things like that, and you are trying to actually form full sentences, the complexities of grammar, etc., is not something you can just pick up by imitating. As well as the mistakes that children make, some of them, like the one example, very good example given is, instead of saying drank, they said drinked, imitating some other words. But if they're actually imitating the parents, they would have picked it up very easily. But you could have observed that many kids have this kind of tendencies for prolonged periods of time. That's one argument against the behaviorist theory. The next one is, the vast majority of children go through the same stage of language acquisition, uh, almost at the same age levels. Apart from extreme cases, the sequence seems to be largely unaffected by the treatment the child receives or types of society. So the behaviorist idea is that the society, the social circle, or the small family circle they are in, that has the utmost importance in feeding the language and the subsequent language rules into the kids. But it looks like it's not the case, because any kids of similar ages kind of have the similar knowledge in language usually. So it doesn't look like that's a huge influence, at least, and the way behaviorist people, Skinner particularly, are propounding. Another one, so we had 2 of them. Another one, children are often unable to repeat what adults say. So even if it's a it's a new utterance, it's not easy for kids to just pick it up and imitate it. So imitation is the basic driving factor. That might not be the case. Another setback is that few children receive very explicit grammatical corrections. When kids talk, people are not really interested in their grammatical correction of the sentence. They are more focused, and they are more appreciative of how nicely they speak, how politely they speak, how true are they in the speech, and things like that. So it says it seems to be truth value rather than well-formed syntax that chiefly governs explicit verbal reinforcement by parents. So parents reinforce the truth value as well as the politeness and things like that, good behavior in short, rather than the well-formed structures of language when a child speaks. So if it is actually pushed forward by the support, the positive reinforcement, from the environment, it might again not be true because of this observation. And that's pretty much it. There's one more. There is evidence for critical period of language acquisition. This is very important. So in one special case, they found that a child called Jeannie in 1970, this happened. It's a very unique case, but still it happened. She was grown up in a very odd way. She was totally neglected and deprived of human contact and things like that. So she did not have anyone to communicate or imitate or anything like that. But what happened is, even after she was rescued and she was taken care of, well care of, uh, till some age, let's say 5 6 years, she was not picked up. She didn't pick up on language. So after that, even though she was well taken care of, she could never catch up with other kids. Her maximum level of language growth was equal to something like 5-year-old, even after very well treatment and care. So that again says there is more than just imitating and repeating in the whole language acquisition process. And that concludes all the five pushbacks against behaviorist theory. Clear or questions?
Praharsh, which was the second one, please?
That is not supposed to. Now I had to go back. Okay, cool. The second one was first one was about the rules, right? You have probably the rules are not as simple as something like drink. It's always it's something that children.
Yes, yes. I got that one. Yeah, I missed the next one.
The second one is that at the vast majority of people go through the same stages of language acquisition. So like you are just in that case, right? Cooing, babbling, etc. Those stages, they're
Okay.
observed, right? So
Right.
that means there is a age dependency on the language path you learn.
Correct.
Subsequent steps, if it's all like totally let's say imparted by the small interaction group, then how is it that globally there is a correlation with the age?
Yeah, got it.
Second point.
Piaget basically. Yeah, got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Three, two, one, go. Okay, what next?